Welcome back, college baseball fans, specifically ACC fans. This is Selection Monday. I hope everybody's been having a great one. I know everyone hasn't because some teams did not get selected, but Georgia Tech did. Am I right? Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Buzzing.
Buzz. Happy Memorial Day. It's been a long and fun conference week, but now the real tournament starts. Nick, Micah, both you guys were at the ACC tournament. Micah, you ultimately you were busy with the SoCon tournament as well. How are you doing, Micah? And then we'll talk to you, Nick.
I'm still tired.
Could you at least fake it for this?
What?
Could you fake it with this? I'm tired too, but you don't see me whining about it.
Nick, how are you?
I'm good. I'm buzzing. Not just because Georgia Tech's in it, but we have a bracket, boys. We have a bracket. And might I say, this is a controversial take, but I do not care. This bracket reveal is better than the NCAA tournament for basketball. I just love it so much. I love the double elimination. I love the variety of teams. I love how we have some rivals playing each other and some regionals. It is so fun because basketball, it's great. You know, no one's denying that. But you're one and done. With this, it's a full weekend till that first round is over, and it's so great to me.
Yeah, that's I don't know. Oh, real quick, I do want to shout out Home Field Apparel. My Florida State retro pullover came in. It is fantastic. I am obsessed with it. Unfortunately, it is the only ACC retro team right now, but they do have a ton of other kind of apparel. You can actually, we have a code. If you use CBC15, you get 15% off your order. All the other schools are involved. They may not have a retro pullover, but they've got a lot of fun gear, so go check out Home Field Apparel. Anyway, wanted to plug that real quick because I didn't end up spending the full amount on this because of that code. So that's always good. But Micah, you feeling better?
I'm mad at you. You don't care about my feelings.
I do care about your feelings, but I thought it was a funny moment.
Nick cares. You know,
I care about your feelings.
He has to do one game yesterday. I have to do two, but I'm so tired. Whatever. Must be nice.
You talking about me or Monty?
He was talking about me. At first, I thought you were talking about Nick too, but I realized you had to be talking about me because Nick didn't go to any games yesterday.
Yeah, Nick. I like Nick. I don't really like Monty right now. So, I also got a bill from the hotel for damages that Monty caused. No, I'm just kidding.
That's not true. If that was true, I would have heard about it.
They said a freight train came through. Someone heard a lot of loud noises, and there's just rubble everywhere.
Canes Cats Heat, thanks for showing up, even though your team is not in the tournament. We really appreciate you watching. The SEC propaganda is on another level. But you guys want to jump into it?
Let's jump right into it. Why not? Let's have some fun.
All right, let's talk national seeds here. The top 16 seeds are up. The ACC did get 3 national top seeds in North Carolina at 4, Clemson at 6, Florida State at 8. That is about what we expected or hoped for. We knew Florida State might be a little bit on the bubble there. Clemson was also a little bit on the bubble. I think that Louisville win probably locked it up. NC State was really close to one at 10, and Virginia's there at 12. Those are the teams that are hosting. Do you have a problem with any of the top 8 seeds before we get into the top 16?
Nick, I don't want to steal it from you. I want to go first. At first, I was upset.
With the top 8?
When I saw UNC at 4, I kind of got upset with wow, they should be the 3. This is ridiculous. And then I kind of looked at it, and this graphic was a big part of that, Monty. I like that they didn't pair the ACC teams against the ACC teams on purpose. Like last year, Virginia and Duke happened because of the naturality of Duke winning, the regional and Conway. But I like that, because again, if you put UNC at 3, Now you have to talk about, okay, well, obviously they're going to get UCSB in this situation, but now you've kind of opened up a rabbit hole of, all right, well, where do we go from here? Because again, if Clemson, if you go NC State at 11, then you got Clemson and NC State. So I actually didn't hate it as much as I thought I would at first. Plus, you look at it from a potential, like, if you just assume all 8 seeds make it to Omaha, it's kind of balanced that way too. In a way, I kind of like it. So I don't hate it as much as I thought I would. And again, RPI said UNC was 4. So, and Clemson jumped up a little bit because of RPI. So at the end of the day, I did not hate it as much. I mean, the only one that I think may have been a reach, but it's not a national seed, so we'll wait to save it. But there is one team I thought they got a little bit of an extension for what I deem no good reason.
Yeah, I didn't have any problem with the top 8. And from an ACC's perspective, did anyone have an issue with Georgia?
No.
From an AP,
I was a little shocked Georgia was up there at 7, but
you don't have
that,
you don't really have a problem with it from an ACC perspective. If you were Big 12, though, you'd be wondering why one of the Oklahoma schools.
It seems they went top 8 was all about RPI because all 8 of those teams are RPI top 8.
Yeah.
So that's why I had no problem with it. If that's the reasoning they used, that's as much as we might not like RPI, or we might be like, well, why didn't you use it for the whole tournament field? At least there was some consistency there.
Yep, and the top 8 is there are 5 SEC teams, 3 ACC. So they're all in the Southeast. It's dominated by those schools. All right, let's top 16 because I know we've got a bunch of problems there. Nick, we'll start with you. What's your biggest issue with the top 16 overall?
I mean, Oklahoma seemed a little high for me. I hadn't been paying too much attention to them this year. I mean, they had just been crawling into my top 25, like probably 3 weeks left into the regular season. And my other biggest issue, I mean, we have to address the elephant in the room. I think everyone's going to say this, but ECU being at 16, being a host and getting that over Duke, kind of drives me nuts. I mean, I don't really understand it. Now, granted, I love the Wake Forest ECU.
We'll talk about that.
We will talk about that. I do love that. I just want to point that real quick, but I'm sure you guys talked about it last night. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it on because I had some power issues with the weather here. But looking at everything in the RPI with Duke and ECU, we talked about it before the ACC tournament, how Duke needed to win this to be in or to host regionals. They needed to win the ACC tournament. They were sitting at 22-23 in the RPI before the ACC tournament started. They finished at 17, but guess where ECU ended up finishing? 23. So right where Duke was before this tournament started is where ECU landed after they lost their conference tournament and dropped 7 points in the RPI, while Duke, I think, overall jumped 6 or 7 points in the RPI. It didn't really make any sense to me. They have the tougher strength of the schedule. Hell, they even have the head-to-head. If you want to go that deep into it, it's a shame. I feel really bad for the Duke guys. They fought. They won one of the toughest conference tournaments in college baseball. 4-0 is very hard to do in these conference tournaments, especially in pool play. And I felt like they should have been in. And the fact that Canes Cats Heat just took the words right out of my mouth. The fact that Wake was 17 says a lot about how they felt about Duke.
In theory, they were 17.
In theory, correct.
I'm not sure if that actually lines up, but based on how it works, you would put that as the whoever faced ECU was the best number 2 seed if you're going by how tournaments work.
Right.
Yeah, but that's not what they're doing because Indiana State's not 31.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But
that was my biggest gripe. I'm sure, Micah, you thought the same thing. I'm sure you have more to add.
Oklahoma at 9 is wrong. I'm just going to put that right now. Oklahoma State won the season series against OU. Wait, right? No? Hold on. No, I'm getting confused. I know Oklahoma State won the Big 12 tournament, which I just think should factor in a little bit more. I think OU at 9 is a little far, but also at the same time, again, I look at regional pairing. I do not want NC State paired with FSU. I actually kind of agree with that reasoning. I would rather them be separated. So it kind of worked out.
Oklahoma State did beat them.
Yeah, so that's what I thought. So Oklahoma State winning that series, I thought they should swap those two teams. But, Monty, I am praying to the heavens above that Virginia goes to Arkansas for the Supers, because I will pack my car and I will be in Fayetteville faster than you can say the word Fayetteville.
I mean, I have to think, even if it's Mississippi State that goes to Fayetteville, that's going to be a really fun super regional regardless, as long as Arkansas wins theirs.
Monty,
for our personal connection, I know, but I was just...
No, I agree. For sure. I mean, but I also would not be able to afford a ticket for that one.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because UVA, you'd have...
So got to pray for a credential at that point. But,
yeah.
I do really like, again, Arizona, North Carolina is a fun potential pairing for a super. Like, at the end of the day, I wasn't too upset. Again, we talked about it last night, Monty, so I won't go into detail about teams getting robbed. I will say, Monty, and you tweeted it, so I don't want to steal too much of your thunder here, so I'll let you build on it if you want. But I actually really, really like that Duke is being sent on the road, because that's just going to fuel them even more. Like, I think if Duke's the 16, let's say, and ECU's coming to town, I think my perspective on Duke getting to Supers is actually, like, I'm less positive about it than them being shipped off, or it's not really shipped off, but, sent on the road to Norman, where I think I would personally, I think Oklahoma is not the worst team to draw in this case on a seed purpose, but also too, just, again, adding fuel to the fire for this team. And also, I mean, not that I don't think that Jack Coombs should host a regional, but Monty, you and I have been there. It definitely still needs some work. And maybe this pushes Duke to look that route a little bit more.
And Pollard's going to ask the question of the committee chair, Matt Hogue, when the dust settles, because he wants to know if that played a factor. He told us that in the interview today, so he wants to know if that's a possibility.
Yeah, because I mean, to just be honest, imagine ECU going to that ballpark, Monty. That sounds like a living hell.
Yeah, they wouldn't. We'd hear all about it online.
Yeah, good point.
Mm-hmm. Like UCSB is getting roasted right now, and they're not a Power 5 conference champion. So I don't even want to know what the nightmare scenario would be if Jack Coombs was hosting an ECU or maybe a school with like a Mississippi State, right? Then the fan base is like, imagine Mississippi State fans going from Duty Noble to Jack Coombs. That's like going from the big leagues to your local high school park.
Yeah, that was the question that was asked by Doug like a month and a half ago, before we even confirmed that Jack Coombs would have been the spot. Yeah, it's interesting for me. I just am shocked that two Pac-12 teams got hosts. I think Arizona being they were regular season champs as well, right?
Yeah, they were.
I know their RPI is low, but throw that out the window when they've won both of those. I think Oregon State should have been a 2. And then,
I think what's amazing to me, Monty, is that they had 2 national seeds, and then only one other team made the field. And even then, Oregon was kind of sweating it for a while there.
Yeah, I was going to say it was Oregon, right? Yeah, because there wasn't anyone else deserving.
Like when I saw those 2 national seeds, my brain went, "Oh, Cal's in," because there's no way they're going to value the Pac-12 with 2 national seeds and not feel that Cal's resume is worthy after making the semifinals of the Pac-12 tournament.
And then you're thinking Georgia Tech is in trouble with Cal getting in.
Correct. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched our live reaction. I know, Monty, you probably didn't, which I don't until you joined, obviously. But when we were watching it live, we got to the point where Athens was the second or third last regional to be announced, and I said straight on the thing, I'm like, if I don't hear Georgia Tech's name here, it's over. Like, it's done. Like, we can just write off Georgia Tech's season. They're not getting in.
Well,
thankfully their name got called, but again, Oregon had gotten called just before that. But I was kind of thinking, man, maybe Cal's going to get sent somewhere. So it was definitely something.
It was funny because you had just asked me to talk to the SID at Duke to see if we could get you credentialed for Oklahoma, and I hadn't done it yet because Aaron was on the other side of the room from me. And then as soon as I saw Georgia Tech, I texted you back. I said, I'm not asking because you're going to Athens. Because as you revealed last night, you already have a hotel there ready to roll. So You knew it. You manifested it, and I don't. Have you guys gotten? I think you guys have gotten a chance to see my my clips video that I did.
That was
So
hilarious.
funny.
I took
kudos to you. That was making me laugh out loud. That was hilarious, Monty.
I did that all on my phone, so that's why it's pretty amateur. But I just clipped parts of the speech from Accepted to for Georgia Tech's thing, where he's basically selling himself to committee, and then he goes, I don't care what you think, and then they ultimately get in. So I was laughing at that, but yeah, awesome that we got our 8 teams in. I wish we could have gotten a 9th in. Obviously, Louisville wasn't really anywhere close. And Florida got in, which was expected, especially considering they have a man on the committee. I think Charleston was the casualty of that, I would imagine. I can't remember who else would have been close as Charleston.
The first 4 out were Cal, Charleston, Cincinnati, and TCU.
Oh, TCU did not make it. I forgot about TCU. But yeah, I think Charleston probably should have been the next one up above those teams, but it is what it is, and it happens. But are you
guys surprised that Louisville wasn't even like first 4 out? No.
Okay.
No, not when you factor in what kind of happened over the last little bit, which stinks. I still love this Louisville team. I'll be making a video, I think, tomorrow, just kind of highlighting, how fun it was for me to kind of be the Louisville hype guy. But I'm definitely not surprised by it, especially how it all played out.
I don't know, Micah. I saw a meme that says you love Georgia Tech and not Louisville anymore.
That was hilarious. That was I still shout out to Christopher Jenkins. The one of me like driving the van was incredible.
Oh yeah.
But the random meme generator was hilarious as well.
Yeah, no. So let's jump into some of these regionals. We'll start with Chapel Hill first. We're gonna kind of go in the order of the seeds, basically. So number 4, North Carolina. They are matched up with the 4 seed LIU on Friday. LSU gets Wofford. I mean, what were you guys? When I saw this, I was stunned because LSU to me is the most dangerous 2 seed, and I don't think North Carolina deserved to get that. Like Virginia getting Mississippi State, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like Virginia's a 12 seed, but I was expecting LSU to go to one of those, 9 to 16 seeds rather than one of the top 8 seeds. Was that kind of your guys' reaction as well?
Yeah, I thought UNC got a tough draw with LSU when I first saw it. At first, I was like, missed opportunity to put LSU in Raleigh. But then I was like, wait a minute. They're going to UNC, and UNC's the 4. That's very tough. LSU undoubtedly is one of the hottest teams in the country right now. I mean, they won their last few series. They made it all the way to the SEC championship game. That's a tough draw. I mean, they were under 500, a month ago.
Right. And they've got Gage Jump pitching well. Who's their ace who's been so good all year? Yeah. Holman's been great all year. Carter Holman, right?
Luke Holman.
All right, there we go. Luke Holman's been great all year long. Gage Jump has been really good as of late. So you've got those 2 guys going game 1 and 2, and you got to think that's advantage Louisville. LSU staying in the winner's bracket. It's going to be interesting because UNC's got the firepower, but yeah, that's just a tough break for North Carolina. If they can beat LSU in that second game, it's going to be huge because LSU's starting pitching after that's a bit meh.
It's not a break. It's BS, Monty. Don't give the committee this break crap. This is BS. You say UNC Wilmington is a 2 seed and they're not being sent to Chapel Hill. They're being sent to Athens, Georgia. That makes 0 sense. I know you can't send LSU to an SEC regional, but you can send them to Norman and you can move Duke somewhere else. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, as I pointed out, and you pointed out that this has gone somewhat viral, I have made the observation that the SEC, every ACC host is getting an SEC number 2.
And the back half is fine. I understand, like you said, Virginia getting that is perfectly reasonable. Even Florida State, obviously, at a 7 seed, right? Or a 8
They got
seed,
out.
excuse
They
me.
got
Like,
an SEC bubble team in a way.
Yeah, like getting that is perfectly fine. I have zero problem with that. It's when you just punished the number 4 national seed with the defending national champion who's playing some of its best baseball, if not its best baseball it has played all season. And like they've been trying to argue regionality. That's why Louisiana Tech went to Arkansas. Are you kidding me? Like, what is the difference? Like, UNC Wilmington is a hop, skip, and a jump to Chapel Hill. It's nuts. And like, to be honest, Monty, I know everyone's talking about LSU. Wofford's an RPI top 50 team, and they're your 3 seed. I mean, this is a joke. What happened to rewarding teams for a good regular season? It's gone at this point.
The other thing is, I mean, if you look at the SEC hosts, they didn't get really any. They didn't really even get any Power 4 number 2s. So there's definitely an SEC bias from the committee for sure. I think. I mean, that throwing in Florida getting in as well. It's just absolutely ridiculous. They, if they're the best conference in the, in
Arizona
the world,
got Dallas dissed.
Yep.
Why is a 12 seed Arizona getting or 13 seed getting Dallas Baptist? Why is UC Irvine going to LSU should have been? They should have been spending the weekend with Mark out in Corvallis.
Yeah.
And
also,
it's nuts.
Kane's Cat, he said, "Crimey Sour Greats. Miami has had the toughest regional back-to-back years as a top 5 seed." And I just want to throw out there that's you're giving more evidence to our fact here, buddy, because you're part of the ACC as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's nuts. I mean, like, ooh, yay, they got LIU, whose RPI is really, really bad. Their 1-4 matchups real easy. Great. I mean, it's just, and I mean, I think the worst thing of it all, Monty, to me, is the fact that if LSU wins this, all we're going to hear is how overrated the ACC is, and not look at the fact that this is not a reasonable pairing. But
Cade's Cats, he just keeps reminding me, just keeps yelling in there that LIU beat Miami.
They did.
They did. It's just funny that he's like, just in case we didn't know, because it was the second weekend, I think. But yeah, no, this is a joke of a regional. It's really intriguing because it's one I was thinking about going to. I wish we could have someone going, but yeah, I mean. Yeah. All right, on to Clemson. They were really worried about getting a hot SEC team, and they got a semi-hot SEC team. They didn't get South Carolina though, but they did get High Point, who is making the tournament for the first time in program history. Is that right? And then they got Coastal, who gets in. It's Gary Gilmore's last year. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this regional? I'll start with you, Nick, so Micah can get the blood pressure down before we get ramped up again.
I don't think this was too bad of a draw for Clemson. I mean, if you look at that Coastal, it kind of pops out at you, but we know that this is not usually the same Coastal teams that we're been used to in years past, even up to last year. And I do like it, sort of like the in-state rivalry fact. Vandy is not, up there as they have been in years past, even up to last year, but I don't really mind what Clemson got. I feel really good about them going through their own region and advancing. So we'll see. Oh, what's this?
Tennessee fan here. The ACC host sites getting a SEC 2 seed is crazy. Seems like the committee is pitting the ACC SEC against each other to prove which conference is better. Which
I agree, but if they're going to do that, then send the 2-seeded ACC teams to the SEC. That's my thing. If that's what this is about, then let's make it an even playing field. Give the ACC some home games, or give the SEC some. Send the ACC to go to the SEC schools. I mean, obviously Georgia Tech is going there, but that's it, right? Like, I'm not tripping on that one. I mean,
nope, but
they're at 3.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. But like Duke's going to Oklahoma, And who am I drawing a blank on?
Wake Forest is going to East Carolina.
Yeah. So like if we're gonna play this game, let's play it both ways. Like send Wake to Fayetteville. Send, I mean, not that I really want to wish that upon Wake, but like send them there. Like if that's what this is about, let's do it. Let's not just do it one way. But regardless, besides the point. I pray for former friend of the show, Cole, having to deal with the Whistler.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that'll drive a man insane.
Yeah.
You got thoughts,
anything?
Micah?
I mean, I'm going to be honest. This is the easiest home regional for an ACC team. I'm not really not that worried about Vandy and Coastal.
You think this one's easier than Florida State's?
Let me double check Florida State's, but I'm looking at it real quick. Just to make sure.
Alabama.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. I think UCF is a better 3 seed than Coastal, and I think Alabama and Vandy are interchangeable.
Did Coastal think you think they got a bump because of Gary Gilmore's last year too?
Coastal got in because their athletic director is the head chairman, and it's Gary Gilmore's last year.
Yeah.
No team that finishes 7th place in the Sun Belt gets in any other year. And again, I'm not trying to take a shot at the AD. Again, that's how this game gets played. I mean, at the end of the day, like it's you scratch my back, I scratch yours, and whether we like it or not, that is just how it is. But and again, Coastal, I know Coastal can be good, but I mean they just haven't proven it on a night by night basis, and I don't know what Monty's doing, but anyways, like I'm just not super sold on. And Vandy had a good week in Hoover, but going into Hoover, we thought if they lost to Florida, they're done. So I'm not overly sold on this being a super difficult region for Clemson.
Well, we thought that Florida losing to Vandy, they would be done, but look what happened there.
I'm being attacked.
I see that. Too much gold, Monty.
Yeah.
You're basically doing what I wore in the Georgia Tech Florida State game when I was in Charlotte.
I've got 2 little oversized guinea pigs trying to go at it here. Oh, 1 sec. Sorry, I had to take off because I looked out over and Puck was chewing on some plastic instead of a toy. So I had to take my headset off and take care of that. So I didn't hear all of your what we were talking about. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting. We good to move on to the next one. I'm not too mad about this regional. I would have preferred the South Carolina one. South Carolina got here instead of Vandy just because of the South Carolina Clemson rivalry. That would have been electric. I
think that in this situation, it would have made more sense to swap LSU and Vandy, what we're looking at right now. LSU, like I was mad when I saw LSU pair with Clemson, but Clemson is a 7 seed drawing LSU, considering LSU's RPI.
Clemson's a 6.
6. Thank you. Like it's fine, right? But to again, just have them sent to a 4. Just, anyways, besides the point. Let's move on.
All right. Tallahassee, which we just talked about, just very briefly mentioned, we're talking about the easiest home regionals. Florida State, they do just squeak in with a national seed at number 8. They've got Stetson as their 4 seed, UCF as the 3 seed, Alabama as the 2 seed. This one doesn't seem super hard. Alabama could be a problem. They're the only team to have beaten Tennessee in a series this year, I believe. But they could also lose to UCF in the first game. So it's going to be a very interesting regional there in Tallahassee. Obviously, their first time back in a couple of years. I want to say, did they host last time they were in? I can't remember.
I don't remember. I don't think so, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this one, Nick?
I feel really good for Florida State in this one. I think this is the best one of the ACC teams that are hosting in terms of how far they could go. Micah's shaking his head.
Deep dive the numbers, gentlemen. Every team here is RPI top 100. Stetson's already beaten Florida State this year. This is one of the toughest ones. You guys are sleeping on this. Like, I don't know what I need to do to wake you up. UCF is a very good ball club. Stetson has beaten Florida State, like I've already said. And the ASUN is a very underrated mid-major conference. And then Alabama honestly, Alabama is probably the least threatening from a sleeper standpoint, but they're still a very good ball club. There's not a single team like any 4 of these teams could win this regional.
Do you think Stetson's beating Jamie Arnold on Friday night?
The fact that Florida State has to use Jamie Arnold in a 1 through 4, Monty, tells you that this regional is tough. because no one else is throwing their ace against the fours for the most part. You can't tell me they are.
UVA always does, but
yeah, but that
You think they are going to throw
UVA did
Jamie
not
Arnold?
do that last year with Army. No.
They didn't have a
You thought Connolly Early was the ace last year for Virginia?
They didn't have an ace. All three of them were about the same.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. But
so
Jamie Arnold's a clear cut ace,
right? In the past before last year for Virginia, because last year's Virginia pitchers were pretty. I mean,
no, fine, fair.
Yeah,
but we're talking Florida State here. The fact that you feel that Jamie Arnold has to if you're saying that because you're right. Stetson's probably not beating Jamie Arnold. I 100% agree with you.
They might be able to get.
Beat Andrew, I think it was Andrew Armstrong that started that game.
I think if they would throw Carson Dorsey if they were not throwing Jamie Arnold, they'd have Carson Dorsey's much better than what we saw in the ACC this week. I think they made a mistake pitching him on Friday out of relief because he's not good out of relief. And then that burned him for Sunday, and he was not effective Sunday. So I would expect him to be much better. But I think obviously you'd have a much better chance beating Carson Dorsey if you're Stetson than Jamie Arnold. So they got to be real careful.
Yeah, I mean, again, going back to it, this is a national seed hosting 4 RPI teams in the top 100. This is not some cakewalk, Yeah, thank you, AJ. Bama is very, very good. UCF is a very good team that's very dangerous, who I don't think Florida State and UCF played, but you can't tell me that UCF's going to be feisty with this one. Any of these 4 teams, like I said, can win this regional. And that's what, in my opinion, what makes a regional difficult. Yes, the Chapel Hill Regional has that nice, shiny name in LSU, and that is scary. But all 4, I don't want to slander Wofford, but I don't think Wofford's going to win that regional. I don't think Wofford's got enough to get through the whole thing. UCF, Alabama do, and Stetson, if they set themselves up right, can make some noise too. I don't think they would win the regional, but they have a less than 0 or more than 0 chance to do it. Exactly. Thank you, Will. That's another great point. And Stetson's got 40 wins on the season, so this team knows how to win. Their strength of schedule is 206, so you can say, their strength of schedule stinks, and that's completely fair. I'm not necessarily going to balk at that, but I mean, again, I think that this regional is the opposite of what Nick just said. This one is, there's not a single game Florida State chalk.
I would whichever game Jamie Arnold starts, I think would be chalk. But after that, they're pitching. You've got Carson Dorsey, who didn't have a great ACC tournament. I do think he'll have a better one, but he's not. You've got a big gap between him and Jamie. And then Connor Whitaker and Cam Leiter are going to be available, but only out of the bullpen. Mm-hmm. And Cam Leiter's only going to be available as a 1-inning guy. And he's somebody we haven't seen him pitch in relief at all at Florida State. So, we just discussed that Carson Dorsey's not great coming out of the bullpen. What's Cam Leiter going to look like? Is it going to be a similar situation? We don't know. Their bullpen has Oxford and Holtz. Those are their only 2 really reliable guys. The offense is one of the best in the country, though. But that pitching, if they get into a loser's bracket situation, they could be in trouble.
Yeah, and that again, that's what my fear is with Florida State is, again, they probably get past Stetson, but if you don't, then you're throwing, Jamie Arnold probably in that scenario. I'm assuming, again, if they lose to Stetson, it would be they didn't throw him, and they beat UCF or Alabama. Great, but now what?
Because now Carson Dorsey's burned, Jamie Arnold's burned.
Yeah, and I think it's maybe not the worst idea for Florida State to throw Jamie Arnold in game 1 and maybe have him available for a bullpen if needed, kind of reverse of what happened in Charlotte. So, but yeah, I mean, this is a very sleep, because it's not name centric, right? Again, we've had names with LSU in the regional and Vandy and Clemson, but these are all teams that are dangerous in their own ways.
Nick, do you want to backtrack on your initial thoughts now that you've heard a little bit more about the other teams?
You guys make good points. I still feel really good about Florida State and that pitching staff. I know, Dorsey didn't have a good game, but they've got names. They got more names than I think any of these guys do. I feel really good about Florida State in this regional. Alabama, I mean, did they end up with I think they ended up with a losing record in the season in SEC play.
Yeah, I think 13-17.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They're not a sexy 2 seed. I think UCF can be dangerous. They've been flirting around the top 25. I think in College Baseball Central's top 25, they've been getting votes. But Stetson, we'll see. I do want to shout out to Giovanni Cueto, the catcher for Stetson, former Wake backup catcher who wanted a starting role and is now back in the regionals with his new team. So good for him. But
Nick, what
I
if
feel
I
really
told
good
you?
for Florida State.
What if I told you this regional features 3 of the RPI's top 33 teams? That make you feel any better, knowing that if in a world where RPI was what determined the field, the top 3 of these teams would be in the top 52% of the field.
It sounds like he understands it's a tough region or a tough regional, that he just thinks Florida State is going to carry it.
I just think Florida State is that much better than these guys.
By the way, great point by AJ. Ben Hess is the X factor for Bama, first round talent coming off injury, whose best start was his most recent one. He'll likely throw game 2, I believe, Greg Ferrone, which, he has a meme similar to Micah where he's, the meme generator where he's, with one hot girl, Louisville, looking at Alabama because he's a former Louisville player. So much like Micah, he abandoned Louisville when he was needed the most. Just kidding. And then another great point I just want to shout out. John Abraham and Joe Charles have both been really good recently out of the bullpen for Florida State. So when I said they just had Holtz and Oxford, that was a bit – those two, Holtz and Oxford, have been good all year. Abraham and Charles have been really good at times and really recently. So just wanted to throw that out there. So moving on to Raleigh, NC State, they get the 10 seed. They will face Bryant, who is, I think, a bit of a dangerous 4 seed there. James Madison is a bubble team. They get in. They will face the South Carolina Gamecocks. I was going to bring this up. AJ already brought it up earlier in the chat. Last year, NC State had to go to South Carolina. This year, South Carolina's coming to NC State. That's something that, as UVA fans, Micah and I saw recently, because UVA in 2022 went to East Carolina. In 2023, East Carolina came to Virginia. So there's interesting that there's going to be some back-to-back years of them playing each other in a regional, albeit at different locations. What is our thoughts here, Micah? But I'll get you first before we go to Nick.
I mean, this is obviously there's no such thing as a super easy regional, right? But I think this one plays well for NC State because, Bryant's claim to fame is their ability to hit. They're not the most electric of pitching staffs, and we know NC State can obviously score, right? So, obviously from a 1-4 matchup, that's great. James Madison, similar. Their pitching numbers are brutal. By the way, shout out to Friday starters if you want to get kind of a real good feel on where teams line statistically in the country. They've got a graphic for every single regional that shares all of that. But, obviously South Carolina is the most threatening team in this, and they've been pretty good at the pitching numbers, but even then, they strike out a lot offensively. So, for an NC State pitching staff, if you can get South Carolina guys to chase, that's going to be beneficial. So I feel pretty good about this one. That I do think that NC State should be able to get through this. And again, considering everything, how it sets up, which, shout out to William for this comment, but, I like that you probably don't have to throw, really, I guess, who do you throw against Bryant? What would you guys think?
I would think it's Consiglio or Duden. I don't think you're wasting a starter.
You start Duden.
Or, maybe Dom or Winokur because Consiglio and Duden have
I was thinking
really
Dom would be a really genius move here.
I think Dom.
And then save Highfield for the winner of South Carolina JMU.
Yeah.
AJ said he was leaving the chat, but he did want to leave this last note, I believe. That SEC doesn't chase; they take a bunch of pitches. That's why.
That's a good point. When the ETSU struck him out, they just watched him go by. So that's a good point.
Yeah,
very good point.
So
I like that. I like that observation, Micah. I think they do. I think they will go Dom against Bryant for game 1.
Here's what's interesting for me about NC State is, and they haven't done it a whole lot this season. Obviously, they've done it in midweeks, but that's a different kind of thing. They have a tendency to kind of not live up to expectations in some cases. So this kind of regional sets them up for that. You guys know I don't necessarily believe that because I'm sticking with my preseason My preseason talk about them getting hot and going to Omaha, but it just, at the same time, it kind of scares me because I could totally see them laying a dud. After what they've done the last 6 weeks too, it just seems like they're setting up for it.
Well, you, as a state guy, you would like to hope that the dud was Thursday night.
I think the dud was not getting to the ACC semifinals, Monty.
Yeah,
if that's the case, that's great, and they've got it out of their system.
Which is something exactly I said after they lost to Duke. I think that hopefully they were so hot, and I hope they got the dud out of the way. But
I really like this NC State team. There's just something yelling at me in my gut, not necessarily any numbers to back this up or any real belief. It's just a little knot in my stomach.
Well, the knot that you're feeling is real because, like you said, it's the midweeks, right? Like that was UNC's kryptonite, NC State's kryptonite all year. I know.
Whoa, did you just pull an ESPN now?
I did just pull
NC State grad calls his alma mater.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But that's been their kryptonite all year. I shouldn't have said throw Duden or throw Consiglio because they have been doing that and they've been doing okay in the midweeks, but they've been losing. The ECU, Coastal, Campbell, Wilmington, Greensboro, the list goes on and on. So it does worry me a little bit that anytime State can pull out a dud. So I think what you're feeling, Monty, is just something that has been happening all year to NC State, is losing the games they shouldn't have been.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, they've been fantastic. Every time we thought they would lose in the last 6 weeks or so, at least in terms of the weekend series, they've pulled out. Or in the Florida State case, they split, but just fantastic. AJ had just said it before he's leaving. Don't count out the Dukes. Last teams in have been very dangerous. They could be a very dangerous team. We're going to find out. They could, pull off that upset early against South Carolina. It's going to be a really exciting regional in Raleigh.
I'm very excited.
Moving along to Charlottesville, the Virginia Cavaliers, they host again, second year in a row. They are facing Penn. St. John's will pitch, will play Mississippi State. That logo just threw me off. I was like, I know Mississippi State's in there, but I couldn't actually see the logo. Micah, what are your thoughts there on Virginia's regional?
This reminds me of last year's regional to a T, Monty. You have a very name-threatening, challenging 2-seed. Last year was ECU. This year is Mississippi State. Team 3, a very dangerous. I mean, obviously St. John's ended up winning the Big East, but they were going to be a bubble team if not, like Oklahoma was last year. A team that we know can be dangerous, but doesn't strike a ton of fear into you if you're a Virginia person. And then a very dangerous, but on the lower end of the RPI, Penn team.
They were the 4 seed in the Ivy.
Correct. Where obviously last year, I mean, the Ivy is about as bad as the Patriot League. I think Penn
and Army dominated that league last year, right?
Correct. Yeah, and then obviously again, but you have that one sticker shock. Oh crap, that team's coming to town. Which, by the way, similar to ECU, Mississippi State's going to travel very well to Charlottesville. Monty, I bought tickets for the regional when they went on sale like a week ago or whatever, just to make sure I had some in case I were to go and couldn't get credentialed if you were there. And I already have a couple Mississippi State people that I know asking me if they have tickets, and they're willing to pay triple what I paid, which is nuts, but good for them. And I'm not going to necessarily say I'm not going to do that, but it is something that I think this regional is going to be challenging. I don't know if Virginia comes out of it. I think, Monty, for me, you said it. O'Connor likes to go with his guy. I don't really want to burn Blanco against Penn. I just don't want to do it.
Well, who would you start? Would you start Owen Cody against a team he played for 4 years and faced him every fall?
Yes.
Oh, nice little story.
Conley Early did it last year.
That's true. Conley Early did do it last year and dominated. It is kind of funny.
Nick, if you don't remember, the Virginia starter that was the Friday guy, Conley Early, was from Army.
So
that's hilarious. I love it.
I would.
It
throw
really
Cody
is.
against Penn.
Micah, you hit the nail on the head. It really is like last year's.
Yeah, like throw Cody against Penn, save
Savino and Blanco,
and have Savino ready for hopefully a championship game. I mean, that's again. Brian O'Connor knows his roster best. I will not question him. He can do obviously what he wants to do. I just think in this scenario, not that I'm saying Penn's not dangerous, because like Monty, you can go on the flip side of this, right? Like, yes, Penn's gonna know how Cody looks, but Cody's gonna know that lineup better than anybody.
That's true.
Because Penn is the type of program where all their players transfer out. I mean, you know Ben Miller, right? Like he had to go because they don't take. You're not allowed to take grads at Penn, so the rosters don't change over too much.
By the way, shout out to Ben Miller. I completely got thrown off because I was focused on tweeting something when this regional was announced in Durham today, and I completely was like, who the heck is reacting so strongly to Penn getting this regional? And shout out Ben Miller because that's who it was. He had his arms up. He was cheering for his former teammates at Penn. So that was a really cool kind of thing to notice because I was like, why is somebody hollering about Penn?
Yeah, but I think this regional for Virginia is the exact type. Like, I thought it could have been harder. I mean, again, I'm not going after St. John's, but like, there are teams in these regionals that I'm kind of like, you know, I would be a little more concerned. Like, you know, again, I think I'd rather see St. John's than Coastal Carolina, just based off upside. I think St. John's would be playing better baseball, but.
So real quick to counter your thing that this is the same regional to a T, I disagree. I think last year's regional was easy. Virginia was a better team, a higher seed, and I think Mississippi State is a much more dangerous team than last year's East Carolina team was.
Really?
St. John's is a scarier team to me than Oklahoma was. Oklahoma last year had no business in the NCAA tournament.
True.
Whereas, so I mean, the only seed that I think is worse than last year, besides Virginia, obviously, is a worse team than it was last year, but Penn is worse than Army was. But they're red hot, right? So they're dangerous as well. So I think this is a much tougher regional than last year. Your points are valid, and I see the connections there, but I just think and it should be a little bit harder of a region given that they're four seeds lower than they were last year.
Monty, I will push back though, and I know RPI is not all end all be all. ECU and Oklahoma had higher RPIs than these 2 and 3 seeds did. I know RPI is not end all be all, but like everyone's talking about Mississippi State being a regional host, but none of the numbers really suggested they should have been.
Yeah, but
minus their SEC record, which was obviously very, very good. But again, this is going to be challenging for Virginia, but I think Virginia is clearly better than 2 of these 3 teams, which I think is a beneficial thing when you factor in again.
I think Mississippi State had an argument to host, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
So I think that's and that's
the team did last year too.
Yes, but one of those teams plays a little bit like better conference.
Really, the SEC is better than the American.
Just by a smidge. I hate using that as an example because so many people like that's the example being used for Florida to get in, but like. That scares that Mississippi team being successful day in and day out in the SEC scares me way
Monty,
more than
I watched
ECU.
Mississippi State take Florida to the woodshed in person, so I know how dangerous this Mississippi.
Right.
Heck, they've got a starter that can just switch hands between batters. I mean, that's probably who Virginia will face in game 2.
Is that Steven?
So it just scares me.
Yeah. All right, so Nick, you didn't get your chance to holler in there because the 2 UVA fans took all the time.
Well, pause. Monty just admitted it on the podcast. He's a UVA fan. I just wanted to make sure everyone heard that.
I admitted it for this is like the 3rd or 4th time today. I've mentioned it.
No, big UVA guy. Go ahead, Nick.
He interrupted you.
No, you guys got to get your fandom out, and I totally love it. So it was cool hearing it all. But Mississippi State does worry me. They were in my head for like the last few weeks. I kept saying, who's the SEC team that they're going to put into a region that's going to host a regional that probably shouldn't have any business hosting, like last year with Auburn. Auburn had no reason to host last year. And for some reason, I thought they're going to put Mississippi State back in Starkville. They're going to host, and they're going to screw over like an ACC team or maybe a potential other Big 12 team. But I do worry about Mississippi State. They're high. It seems like they're back into the national conversation again. St. John's has been a team that has been flirting at the top of the Big East all year. I've been so tempted to rank them in my top 25 for a very long time. They're very good. And then Penn, I mean, very hot 4 seed, winning the Ivy League. I like Virginia coming out of this. I think they're the most consistent team out of all these guys. I mean, St. John's has an argument in terms of consistency because they've been just kind of, cruising along. No one's really been looking at them that much, but they're there. But I like Virginia in this. I think they got a really good regional. So if their talent can show up and we know who they are, then I think they should have no problem going through this.
All right.
Also, I want to point out, Monty, I just noticed it. Not that it's important, but Disharoon Park has a V on the end of it on this NCAA graphic. I just thought that was funny. Typo from the NCAA.
Yeah. So William Cantrell brings up an interesting point. I obviously did not know this, but Dakota Jordan and Hunter Hines have been struggling lately. If they continue to struggle and Virginia's offense is what Virginia offense has been, that could be a huge factor. So that's good to know about those 2 big stars in Mississippi State's lineup. I watched a ton of Hunter Hines in the Cape Cod League last year. He is legit. And obviously Dakota Jordan had a monster year for them. So it's going to be fun. Star Power's there. They travel. So I'm going to be seeing a lot of those Mississippi State fans.
Will they allow cowbells in?
No, they won't, because they didn't allow the megaphone for ECU last year.
I thought they did.
No, they did not. All right, moving along to Norman, Oklahoma. My favorite team in the ACC, the Duke Blue Devils. I'm a huge Duke Blue Devil fan. I've mentioned that about 4 or 5 times in the show today. They don't host, but they get a pretty great regional. They're going back. Wallace Clark is headed home to Norman, Oklahoma. Shout out Jake. If he was here, he would probably mention Wallace Clark went to Oklahoma about 87 times. He was a member of their 2022 World Series team. He's headed back there. Micah's UConn Huskies. They love Micah. He is there. And then Oral Roberts. I was about to blank on their logo again. Oral Roberts, the World Series run from a year ago. They are the 4 seed. What do we think of this? This, to me, I think Duke dodged. Duke may have ended up with a more favorable regional not hosting.
Yeah. I kind of feel the same way. Like, if you're Duke right now, you're pissed off. You wanted to be home. You did everything you possibly could have, and they still took it right out of your hands. I think Oklahoma is one of the more overrated one of the overrated hosting seeds.
Pittsburgh would agree.
Yeah, UConn, they started off very slow, but in terms of Big East play, they played very well. They got themselves back in the conversation. I thought that they would be missing the regionals if you had asked me back in mid-March or even early April. They were off to a very bad start. I love what Duke pulled out. This is great for them. I think you hit the nail on the head, Monty. If Duke were hosting, they would get a very high 2 seed that we would all draw a lot of concern of, like maybe an ECU, maybe an LSU or a Vandy. It could have been really bad. Mississippi State. Yeah, I love Duke playing one of the more overrated hosting seeds next week. This is going to be great.
Here's my thing. If Duke just won the ACC without having to use 2 of their starting pitchers, and their pitching was fantastic this week. I think the Virginia Tech game was their worst pitching performance of the week. And Higgins came back and bounced back against Miami. Or was it? I can't remember which. Yeah, I think it was Miami. But yeah, so I think if Duke does not win with those 2 guys available to pitch, and they will start, it's a massive failure. I love Duke, and I believe in this team. I don't think that's going to happen, but that would be huge. A very, very big loss. Micah, what are your thoughts? You want to go to this regional?
I want to. This is my favorite regional, Monty. Straight up, like, obviously it's got my beloved UConn Huskies in it. It's got a very fun Duke team. It's got an Oklahoma team that I think we all agree is probably the most vulnerable top 16 seed that an ACC team will play. or involves an ACC team, I guess, in that flip side too. And then, Oral Roberts, the Summit League stinks. And Oral Roberts literally benefited from the fact the conference was so bad that they were able to kind of figure it out down the stretch. I don't know if you guys know this. They've won the Summit League, I think it's 24 of the last 25 years, or 26 years. It's ridiculous. Like, they win it every year. But this team went to Omaha last year. And they don't have the world's most massive fan base. But in case you guys didn't know, Oral Roberts is in Tulsa. It's not far away. So there will be some, obviously, ORU fans there. So you've got.
We saw a lot when we were there, Micah.
I think what's so funny is we have 4 in this regional. We have an Omaha team, and it's none of the ones that were all like, "Oh my goodness, this is so difficult."
An Omaha team from last year and an Omaha team from 2022.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing that I look at from this regional is not many of these, like, the best hitting team is the Duke Blue Devils. I mean, UConn isn't very explosive offensively. Oral Roberts hasn't been very explosive offensively. Oklahoma does score a decent amount, but they don't hit the long ball very much. So that's something to keep an eye on. But I really like this layout for Duke. I think that, obviously UConn's going to be a very tough test in that first game. But I do think that if they get over the hump there, we've seen Oklahoma kind of struggle in some of these, like, game 2, game 3 situations. I mean, Oklahoma unfortunately got hurt by the Big 12's tournament format of double elimination until the championship, because they didn't lose a single Big 12 tournament game until the championship game, which was single elimination. So the Oklahoma team is definitely capable of, of some damage. But, and also, Monty, I think, nope, next week, never mind, because is next week the College World Series for women's? Because if so, might be some Oklahoma fans making the trip over to Oklahoma City for that, which could
be some Duke fans headed to that as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Good point. Shout out to Duke softball.
Yeah.
But, I like this regional a lot from a standpoint of Duke. Duke can hit, obviously, at a pretty explosive rate. And, the best pitching team that's here besides Duke is UConn. So, obviously, I think that's pretty beneficial that they can kind of have the luxury of not necessarily facing teams with aces.
Yeah. All right, let's move along. We got our last 2 regionals. We got Wake Forest going to Greenville. VCU going to Greenville. They're the 3 seed. They remember, East Carolina had a 2-game midweek schedule against VCU. They did not get the tarp on the field. They had to cancel. They rescheduled for later in the year. The scheduling did not work out for either team, so they canceled again. Guess what? If East Carolina gets matched up with VCU this weekend, they will not be able to cancel. So just want to throw that out there. I'm not necessarily accusing them of dodging VCU. It's just it's a little funny storyline underneath that they might eventually play each other. Evansville is the 4 seed. Wake Forest is the 2. I don't know the status of Trey Savage's health right now, but I would love to see a Savage Chase Burns matchup on Saturday. That's 2 potential top 10 picks going head to head.
Correct. Yeah. Guys, do you realize the storyline that could be happening?
Oh yeah.
Wake comes out of this regional.
That we'll get to that later. We'll get to that later.
Oh wow, there's more. Okay, thank you.
That's why I wish you guys would move along a little bit faster.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You gotta let us know this.
Yeah.
Monty's mad at us for not reading his mind, Nick.
No, I'm just kidding. No, we will touch on that. The storyline Nick is alluding to is that if Wake Forest makes it out of this region and Tennessee makes it out of theirs as expected, it would be Chase Burns returning to Knoxville against the team that ran him out of town.
Yeah.
Which might be an unfair thing to say, but it doesn't seem like he enjoyed his time there his sophomore year.
Correct. Yeah. Wanted to be a starter. I don't think Tennessee was going to give that to him. But back to this regional. Don't sleep on VCU. I've seen these guys play. They're good. They took 1 from state and they almost should have taken 2. It was a close series. VCU is a pretty damn good team. So I would not sleep on them at all. Definitely throw Chase. If you're thinking about not doing that, don't throw Chase. Okay. Throw get that guaranteed win. I mean, in terms of like the seeding, I guess technically that Wake was number 17. So it's like flip flop. But I love Wake going to ECU because in terms of regionality, Wake never goes to ECU. Duke goes to ECU. State, UNC, Wilmington, Campbell, they all go. Coastal.
Duke also loved that Wake Forest was going to ECU because I think Duke wanted to go out of state.
Yeah, I'm sure. I love this for Wake. I love this for the state. I mean, I think this is really cool. Maybe I'm just getting a little ahead of myself, just like the regionality of it. Wake staying in state, I think, is awesome for them. I think Wake Forest will travel well to ECU. This is going to be a very fun one. Like, don't sleep on VCU. We got a lot of purple, black, and gold in this region too.
Yeah, I did laugh. I think last night on the D1 show, Fit was talking about an all-purple regional with ECU, Evansville, LSU, and I can't remember who he had as
JMU.
JMU maybe. It was an all-purple regional. That would have been really cool. But yeah, here's the thing for me. It's going to depend on the health of Trey Savage because him and Root are very, very dangerous 1-2. Obviously, you got Wyatt Langford Shankman in the bullpen, who's one of the best relievers in the entire country. And Wake Forest, they looked the pitching outside of Chase Burns has looked a little shaky again after being pretty strong for the last couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, they discovered something, though. I will say Joe Areola looked very good in Charlotte this weekend against Carolina.
I thought all those relievers stepped up in that game. After Roland blew it.
Yeah, Shinosky stepped up in a big way. Areola, yeah, they all. Michael Massey, I think it's going to be interesting how they treat Michael in this regional. If they're going to keep him in the pen, if they keep Falco at starting, it's all going to be very interesting how Wake handles their pitching situation in this region.
Yeah, it's I think there's a lot of people who are expecting Wake to kind of roll through this, and it's a possibility, but I think you're overestimating ECU if you've got a healthy Savage, especially. Again, I don't know what the recovery time is for a collapsed lung. That's a very serious situation, and based on some of the rumors I've heard about how that may have happened, I'm not sure if I was him I'd want to come back, but I'm not going to get into that here. But Micah, you got any thoughts on this regional?
Well, black and gold teams like to beat ECU. Wichita State just took them to the woodsheds in Clearwater. Not really, but anyways, I think what's funny to me is you deep dive the numbers, and obviously Wake has the strikeout numbers and stuff, but from a pure pitching staff, team ERA, if I told you that Wake Forest was the third best pitching team in this regional, you'd be like, come on. But they are. VCU's team ERA is very, very good. Obviously, ECU has, they've benefited from Savage carrying a lot of this, but their ERA is pretty good as well as a team. Wake's the best hitting team in this regional.
Oh, yeah.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be kind of fun to see. And again, it's just so strange because we came into the year. I mean, we knew Wake could hit, but we talked about Wake Forest being the team that can, like the pitching is going to be a big part of this. And it's like they're third of 4 in the power rankings in team ERA in this regional. So definitely something to watch. But
real quick, quick answer on this, non-ACC related. Even if ECU gets out of this regional, they're likely facing Tennessee. Is this the year they go to Omaha?
Yes.
You still? Oh.
If VCU got past, or you say VC or ECU? I'm sorry.
ECU.
Both. Either way, yes.
Wow, I love it.
One seed jinx, baby. I don't believe in it.
What do you think?
I mean, I believe in it. I don't believe in teams with as the 1 seed, I should say.
Quick answer, Nick. We're moving on after.
No, I don't think so.
You think they got a tough draw? I liked him before I knew this draw, and of course before I knew Savage, his situation. But
it's a tough draw, and Tennessee waiting for you. I don't like that at all.
Which is a shame. I think this is one of their best teams in the ever, to be honest.
You kind of now that things have settled, if you're ECU, kind of wishing that maybe you were in that Norman regional, like where Duke is.
because they travel to it anyway. But all right, let's move on to Athens, where I hear somebody might be this weekend. Army's going to be there. UNC Williamson's going to be there. Georgia Tech is going to be buzzing. And guess who else is going to be there? Raise your hand if you're going to be there.
You know,
Micah's raising his hand.
You know what really is going to be buzzing, Monty? Me. You want to know why? Anyone that barks at me, this is a challenge. Any college baseball central followers, if you bark at me, I'm buzzing back at you. And you don't want to hear me buzz. That's going to be angry Micah buzz. So you bark at me, I'm buzzing.
Here's a hot take. I like this. Wake hosts Indiana in the Super.
Ooh.
Indiana upsets Tennessee. Bradley Scott. He's got a bold prediction.
I love it. Love it. Bring Wake back to Winston-Salem. I love it.
All right, Micah, we're going to start with you, buddy. Let's talk Athens.
I had multiple people DM me, making sure I have my rabies shot, so I'm not really looking forward to that. I don't know exactly what that means.
I thought you were going to give me like a serious thing. I was not expecting a joke there. That was good.
Sierra just walked by and reminded me of our time when we were there for Tennessee, Georgia in football, and reminded me that people will bark at me and that I should be careful of getting too close to the people of Athens. No, but on a serious note, I'm really excited for this, Monty. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little sad about the pairings just because I've seen UNC Wilmington this year and I saw Army in the regional last year in Charlottesville. So like I was hoping to see maybe some like new flavor.
No, we don't. Okay. No, we're there for one reason and one reason only. Charlie Condon. Wait, no, Georgia Tech.
Oh, speaking of really good college baseball players that we're going to go watch in this regional, it's almost like Drew Burris liked a couple of our tweets today, Nick. I don't know if you saw that. But shout out to Drew Burris for that one.
Drew.
But,
by the way,
this is
just real quick. Chad posted his war leaders as of May 27th in the NCAA. In there at number 9 is Mr. Drew Burris. And Charlie Condon is number 1 in the country with a 9.3. Burris is 9th with a 5.6.
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
My only fear, Monty, I'm going to say it out loud, is if we don't get that pairing to happen. Because UNC Wilmington is a very dangerous team. I do worry, Monty, that everyone's just writing it as a guarantee that Georgia Tech and Georgia will meet in this regional.
Micah does not believe in Georgia Tech. Wow.
I'm saying, Monty. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just simply saying I want to give flowers to UNC Wilmington because they really are a very good team. I mean, Nick, you didn't like watching UNC Wilmington play your pack this year, did you? So, we know that UNC Wilmington, is capable of this. There's a reason why they're a 2 seed. That said,
me and Toby Cohort have this to say to you. Buzz.
That said, Monty, I cannot pick Georgia Tech to win this regional for rules alone. As you would know, I have to say what I'm saying, Monty. Georgia Tech goes 0-2 in Athens.
Right. Well, I'm still, But that's hurtful.
But
so they go.
Do you think that? I mean, I'm assuming, right, because Georgia Tech's a 3 seed. This is going to be treated as a normal weekend with Finateri going against UNCW, and then you go, Cam Jones maybe against Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, you don't. I mean,
I just didn't know if, again, I don't know if you. Again, Finateri got lit up by Virginia, so I didn't know if maybe there's that route of going. Wait, Finateri pitched against Virginia, right? I'm not tripping on that. I'm not mixing
he did.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, anyways, I'm so excited. I am genuinely thrilled to get there.
They know Micah has now left the SEC. He's what do they call it? Is it the Coastal Athletic Association now? Not the Colonial?
The CAA Coastal Athletic Association.
Okay. I was about to say Colonial, but it's when did they change that?
Unbelievable. This is ridiculous. I can't compliment another team without being considered a hater. I think it would almost be better for me to compliment UNCW rather than to say they stink and give them bulletin board material.
Here's the thing. You're out and you're out with your girlfriend or your wife, in your case girlfriend, and you compliment another woman on something. How is your girlfriend going to feel about that? So don't be so surprised when people give you crap for complimenting another team.
Georgia Tech is the best team in the country. I cannot wait to be in Omaha with them.
You're sleeping
Best
on the
you
couch.
ever had, right, Micah?
Best you've ever had.
The only I've ever had. I've never had another.
Nick, talk to me about Athens.
Obviously Georgia. Wait, sorry.
No, I just want to make sure you didn't start talking about Athens, Greece when I said that. So just
wait, we're not talking about the Olympics?
No.
Dang. Obviously Georgia, most exciting player in college baseball. Probably number one.
But I'm the hater of Georgia Tech. Got it.
He was already
most exciting player in this regional is Drew Burress. Come on now.
You see what I have to go through, Monty?
I mean, I deal
Georgia,
with
one of the most exciting players in college baseball right now. But if Mike would let me finish on the other side, hopefully, if Georgia Tech can pull out the win against Wilmington, he's going up against Drew Burress, one of the more exciting players in the ACC. I just love how they put Georgia Tech here. Can anybody remind me? I know Georgia Tech went 0-2 to Georgia this year, but what were the scores of these games in the midweeks?
I can't.
They weren't midweeks. It was a weekend.
Yeah,
it was a weekend.
And one game was suspended and not made up.
Oh, that's why I think it was midweeks, because there were only 2 games, right?
And Burress hit a home run in the suspended game.
The final score was here, Jake. I got it. Or Jake, Jesus, Nick. It was 3-1, Georgia in game 1. That one was the one in Athens, and then the one in Coolray Field was 11-9 in favor of Georgia. Which, by the way, I do find funny that Georgia fans said that Georgia Tech was like scared to play Georgia. They lost a home game and revenue from that home game because of that cancellation. So I do not think that was a desirable outcome for Georgia Tech. It would have been one thing if they would have like forced or figured out a way to get like the Coolray game to be canceled, but they canceled the home game.
I hate to push you guys along, but we've got one more segment before I got to go because I got a 9:30 recording. So pushing us along to talk about. I've got all 8 of the regionals up there. Real quick before we do our picks for each regional, Micah, what's your favorite regional of these 8? Which one is most intriguing to you? Which one are you most excited about?
Norman. Well, no, I lied. UNC.
I like it.
UNC.
Nick?
Greenville. My favorite.
Cool.
Do you want me to elaborate?
No, I just I was thinking about mine because when I asked this question, I wasn't thinking about mine. I love all of them. I'm gonna go with Norman. I'm with you. I'm on the Duke train. I think it's gonna be really fun. I'm gonna be watching that with one eye, but I'm gonna be watching all 8 of these with one eye. It's gonna be difficult for me to do because I only have 2 eyes, but I didn't think about that before I said anything like watching them all with one eye. So anyway, let's talk picks here. Georgia, the Athens Regional. Let's go to you, Micah. Who are you picking to win the Athens Regional?
I feel like I'm not allowed to answer this question because I can't answer it correctly.
You are picking any one of the other 3 seeds.
Correct. You know what? I'm going to say it. I'm going to say because I'm now a UNC Wilmington bandwagon fan. Oh, sorry. I was corrected. It's UNCW. UNCW will win this regional. You can't call them UNC Wilmington. Just a fun fact. That's all.
Nick, where are we going?
I'm going the Dogs.
Who's that coming down the track? It's the Bean Machine.
I'm gonna go with Georgia Tech because I believe in the buzz.
I love it, Monty. One of us had to, right?
Yes, it's gonna be wild if Georgia and Georgia Tech face each other because I believe the pitching for both teams is a bit iffy. All right, moving along.
Before we move along, Monty, I need give me 30 seconds. That's all I need. Georgia Tech put a restraining order on me picking them, so I just want to make sure that everyone knows about our legal proceedings. That I'm legally obligated to not pick Georgia Tech, which is why I'm driving a white Sprinter van in that wonderful meme I was created.
I thought it was a truck, but anyway, Raleigh Regional. Nick, we will start with you this time. Are you going to go with your NC State Wolfpack, or is there going to be an upset?
No, I am going with the NC State Wolfpack. I feel good about the pitching all around. I can't wait to be there. Hopefully I'm credentialed, but I cannot wait to see my first Raleigh regional. It's going to be very exciting.
Yes. Micah.
Monty, did you send him the link, by the way?
No, I need you to reach out. The link was just a generic media alert, not the credential.
Okay, gotcha. I will see what I can do. NC State, yeah, sorry.
Yep. NC State, I am going to go with I think I've gone against NC State as often as I can, and I think it's generally worked out for them, so I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go with South Carolina.
Thank you, Monty.
Yes,
rematch. People forget. This is a rematch from last year. State was in Columbia. This is going to be very fun.
Yeah, I think last week was the only time I picked against NC State in the last month or so, and I actually was right. So that was, so we'll see. All right, moving along to the Clemson Regional. I'll start this one off. I'm going to go with the Tigers. I'm sticking with them.
Clemson.
Thank you. Yes. Nick, we're starting with you, buddy.
Clemson with a breeze.
Love to see it. All right, Micah.
Clemson.
Oh, is that what you were saying earlier? That was your pick?
I mean, you said you're going with the Tigers, so I assume that meant someone else should say their pick. So yes.
Yeah, my apologies. All right, moving along to Greenville. I'm going to go with ECU.
Wake.
Forest.
Thank you, Nick.
Yes.
All right, I'm assuming you're both going with Wake, huh? You believe?
Going Wake.
All right, let's move along to the Tallahassee Regional. Florida State. This is the one that I think we already know where Nick is going. He basically said it before, but Micah was talking about how hard this regional is. So, Micah, where are you going? You don't believe in Florida State? You believe in
Stetson.
I believe in Florida State.
Oh, you're going to pick them after all that?
I'm so glad I didn't ask when we were previewing it.
Florida State is going to lose a game here, though. I'm going to say that.
Okay.
I'm going to caveat with they will drop a game, but they will win this regional.
Nick?
Knowles.
I want to go Knowles. I'm wearing their shirt, but the Alabama, I just don't think it's going to be a Duke Florida State Super Regional. I think it's going to be Alabama. So I'm going Bama.
Jack Coombs brings Alabama to town. Or do they play at Wallace Wade because Wallace Wade was also an Alabama coach?
I don't know if that's an option. All right, moving along to the Norman Regional. Micah, we'll start with you this time. Where are we going?
Oh.
Micah's going UConn with a surprise pick. Too late, I wrote it down. He's going Duke. He did put the UConn hat on, but he juked us out.
I believe in the Huskies. Nick, well, both. But Monty, if it weren't for the fact that UConn was paired with Duke, like if you put UConn and Florida State's regional, I'm probably picking UConn. I just think that Duke right now is they won the ACC tournament, right? They're probably the best team in the ACC right now.
And they're gonna get a big boost from Santucci coming back. I think. I don't know how well he pitches necessarily, but I think the team as a whole is going to get a nice boost. And Charlie Bielenson's going to pitch every day
until his arm falls off.
I don't think.
And then they'll just reattach it and he'll be able to do it again.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. All right, Nick.
Duke.
All right, I'm going Duke as well. Hopefully that's the way it goes. We would love to see Duke in Omaha. Moving along to UNC's regional. Nick, I'm going to start with you this time. Where are you thinking?
I hate their draw, man. I really do. I feel like LSU is going to pull this out.
It's a very, very tough draw. LSU figuring out this late in the season how good they were is a problem, because
Yeah.
if they played as well as they did in the last month or so, or month and a half, they'd be a number one. They'd probably be a national seed at this point if they'd played like they were capable of all season, but they didn't. So that's the way this goes. But it still is BS that UNC got drawn with them. So I'm going LSU as well. Micah.
You want to know why I'm not picking LSU? Because this team right here will beat them in game 1. Give me UNC to win the regional.
We love it. All right, last one, the University of Virginia, Mississippi State, St. John's, and Penn. Here we go, Micah. Here we go.
Unfortunately, I think it's going to be Mississippi State.
Nick.
Virginia. I'll ride with your Hoos, guys.
I am going to go with Mississippi State as well.
Wow.
That's where
Those
it feels
are
different,
picks.
Monty. Last year, I did have that gut feeling that Virginia, even though I was worried about ECU, that Virginia was going to be able to take care of business. This one, I don't have that same gut feeling. I have the bad gut feeling. I have the Monty needs to talk Micah off the ledge gut feeling.
If Cole Steven
Are you
pitches
guys
on-
worried, as Virginia guys, are you worried at all about this St. John's team?
I don't think UVA is going to have to worry about St. John's for a couple of days in this, or until the second day. I think the biggest thing is if they beat Penn, they're facing Mississippi State. So if they're facing St. John's, they're already in a hole.
Any chance you think St. John's is beating Mississippi State?
There's always a chance. It's the NCAA tournament. That's the beauty of it. So,
Yeah.
and obviously, if they beat Mississippi State, that's something to be afraid of, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it's so Mississippi State. If they should be pitching Cole Steven when you're the 2 seed and you're playing a 3 seed, you don't normally want to risk it. You can't normally put your number 2 guy or your number 1 guy on the bench, because you could end up 0-1 that way. I would imagine Cole Steven is going to pitch on Friday night, but if he doesn't, that UVA Mississippi State game on Saturday, assuming UVA beats Penn, which is also not out of the realm of craziness to lose that game. But if it's UVA Mississippi State on Saturday, Cole Steven going and having to dig out of the hole for Virginia and beat Mississippi State twice to advance is going to be really difficult. So that's why I'm going Mississippi State. Micah, are you afraid of St. John's?
I mean, sure. I think I'm more just worried about which Virginia shows up. If the Virginia team that we've seen, like the Virginia team that played Georgia Tech in the ACC tournament shows up, Virginia's winning this region.
Yeah.
Problem is will they get that Virginia team? We haven't seen them piece it together for a whole weekend.
Yeah.
What did I say?
I don't know. Let's wrap this up. Final thoughts, Micah.
I cannot wait to be in Athens, Monty. I hope I don't have a reason to go over to Clemson, but I will venture over to Clemson if the timing works out to catch a little bit of the Clemson regional as well. I cannot wait. Monty, I don't know if you're going to do this quick part, but we will be doing some video/podcast of more of a deep dive into these actual regionals throughout the week.
Thank you. I did forget about that. Nick.
Enjoyed my time a lot in Charlotte. It was very fun.
Good. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Continue.
I enjoyed my time in Charlotte. It was very fun. I feel like I went to one of the best college baseball games I've been to, besides the Rhett Lauder, Paul Skeens start. That UNC Wake game was phenomenal. Shout out to all the fans that showed up. Standing room only. The environment was great. Charlotte, great host city. Very fun. Monty, I'm glad I got to see you for a little bit. It was a lot of fun.
Not in that game, though.
Not in that game, though. I did not see you in that game. I saw
that
you
game. We were busy that game. That game, by the way, all the stars showed up.
Yeah.
Nick, are you finished?
Oh, and I will, credentialed or not, I will be in Raleigh this weekend covering NC State. I can't wait. First time since 2018 since Raleigh has hosted, so I'm very excited to see that.
Yeah, awesome. I just want to make sure you got a chance to finish because I was about to start rambling. I was like, wait a second, let me make sure he finished. All right, so I'm going to be in Charlottesville. It looks like we're going to have people in Norman. Noah's going to be in Norman. Ash is always at East Carolina, so she's going to be at East Carolina. we're going to have – Jake was talking about potentially going to Tallahassee, so we're going to have a lot of the ACC regionals covered. It's going to be a fantastic week. I'm about to do a recording with Chad. He was also echoing your thoughts, Nick, about that being one of the best live games he's seen, reminiscent of that Skeens Louder start where all the stars showed up. We're also going to be talking about the ACC championship week for Duke, all the moments. We're going to be talking about the hosting omission. We're going to be talking about regionals. It's going to be a really great time. So that's being recorded tonight. We're going to post that as soon as it's over on YouTube. It's going to be a good time. So make sure you check that out. And until you see us again when we do some of these deep dives on the regionals for the specific regionals, we'll see you next time.